Hi, I'm Sophie from Encodian, and today I'm going to be showing you one of Flowr's new AI actions. The action is called AI Translate Documents, and it comes from the Encodian General Connector. The action uses Microsoft Translation Services in the backend to be able to translate documents through Power Automate. So let's take a look at the solution. For the solution today, let's say we've got a global company who have a marketing team who reside in the UK. The company operates in the UK, in Spain, and in France. When the marketing team create their content, they create their documents in English because they're based in the UK. However, these documents all need to be translated into French and Spanish so it can be distributed in those countries too. So this is the SharePoint site I'm using for the demo today. So it's just called Global Documents. We can see I've already got an example document in here for this trigger PDF. And we can see that there's this custom language column that I've added to the document library. So this is a choice column where you can select between English, French, and Spanish. Because the team who are going to be uploading the documents are based in the UK, I've got this column defaulting to English, which means that these need to be translated into French and Spanish. So let's have a look at the flow that's going to run when a document is uploaded into this SharePoint library. So this is my Power Automate. The trigger I'm using is for when a file is created, and I've got it pointing to that Global Documents folder. Now, because we're actually going to be creating two new files into the folder, we need to add a trigger condition here to stop a recurring loop happening. So I can come to the ellipsis here and click on Settings, and this is where I can add my trigger condition. So because the documents, when they're uploaded, they default to the language of English, we can use this as a filter so that the flow only runs if the language is English. So to do this, I'm just looking at the value of that language column and I'm making sure that it equals English. So that means when the Spanish and French documents are created from this flow, it's not going to re-trigger a new flow to fire because it's the wrong language that's been set. So once the flow has fired, we can then go ahead and get the file content using the identifier from the trigger. Once we have the file content, we can then start the translation. Now, I've built this out using parallel branches just so that the Spanish and the French translations and creation of documents can happen in parallel. However, you could build this as doing the Spanish first and the French first if you wish. I've just built it out and split it like this to make the flow a little bit more quicker and efficient. So let's come to the translate file actions here. So this is our Encodian Flowr step that we have in our flow. So to use this action, we need to provide the file name with extension, the file content. Now I've kept the source language as auto, however, you could manually select your source language if you wish. And then lastly, you also need to go ahead and select your target language. And as we can see here, there are loads of different languages available to choose from. And as mentioned in the intro, this action uses Microsoft Translation Services in the backend. Once the file has been translated, we can then go ahead and create these files back into the SharePoint. So for this, I'm using the folder path from the trigger action. I'm keeping the name of the document the same. However, I'm doing an underscore with the language that the document is in. So for this one, I've got underscore Spanish. And for this one, I've got underscore French. And then lastly, I'm putting in the translated document. If you're working with parallel branches, you just need to be extra careful that you provide the right dynamic content for each branch. So if I hover over this, we can see that this is the output of the translate file Spanish Flowr action. And that this one is the output of the translate file French Flowr action. So just be careful when you're adding these file contents to make sure that you're adding the right one. Once we've created the file, we then just need to update the file properties so that the language column reflects the correct language of the document. So for this, I need to use the item ID, which is the output of the create file step. And again, just make sure that you're using the correct item ID. So for this one, it's the output from the creating the Spanish file. And for this one, it's the output from creating the French file. And then lastly, I'm just updating the language value. So this one to French and this one to Spanish. So let's test this with a new document. Let's upload a new document ready for translation. So the document I've uploaded is called marketing material. And we can see as soon as it's uploaded, the language is set default to English. So let's give this a few seconds for the flow to run now. And then we'll look at the original document. And then we'll look at that compared to the French and Spanish document. So we can see that the flow has now run. I now have a French and a Spanish version of my document. But first, let's have a look at the original English document. So we can see we've got 2 lines of text here. Let's have a look at the French document. So we can see we've got the same 2 lines of text, however now they've been translated into French. And the same here, we have the same 2 lines of text, however now it's been translated into Spanish. This has shown you how you can quickly and easily start to translate your documents using Encodian Flowr's Translate Documents AI action. It's really important to keep in mind when you're using AI that AI can sometimes be wrong and can sometimes make mistakes. So it's really important to make sure that you have a human who is verifying these documents and checking over these documents before they are used. If you have any questions about anything you've seen today, please leave me a comment down below or get in touch with us at Encodian. And as always, happy automating.